Deep in a forgotten valley, a creature the world had declared extinct for 65 million years was still alive, and he had chosen one person on Earth to protect with his life. This is the story of Mira, the last living Titan, and the bond nothing on Earth could break. Mira had grown up hearing her grandfather's stories about a hidden valley, sealed off by impossible cliffs and a climate scientists couldn't explain, where he swore something ancient still lived. Everyone dismissed it as an old man's fantasy. When Mira finally found the valley herself, following her grandfather's final notes after his passing, she expected empty canyons and dead legends. Instead, she found something breathing in the mist ahead of her, something massive, ancient, and utterly unafraid of her presence. He was enormous, easily the size of a small building, with scales that shimmered faintly like deep emerald stone, and eyes that held something no predator's eyes ever should have: recognition. He didn't attack. He simply watched her, as if he had been waiting. Over the following weeks, Mira returned to the valley again and again, and the creature, who she eventually named Theron, never once showed her anything but a strange, patient gentleness. He allowed her closer than any living thing had ever been allowed near him. He would lower his massive head so she could rest her hand against his snout, staying perfectly still, as though her safety mattered more to him than his own instincts ever had. It wasn't romance in the way people understood it between two humans. It was something older than that, something closer to devotion, the kind of bond ancient stories described between a guardian and the one soul they are destined to protect. Mira didn't fully understand why he had chosen her, but she knew, without question, that he had. Word of the valley eventually reached the wrong people. A group of wealthy poachers, funded by collectors willing to pay any price for something the world believed extinct, tracked Mira's own path back to the valley, following her grandfather's old research that had somehow leaked before his death. They arrived heavily armed, with tranquilizer weapons strong enough to bring down an elephant several times over, and cages built specifically for something they'd only ever seen in old fossil records. Mira tried to warn them away, but greed rarely listens to warnings. As the hunters advanced deeper into the valley, Theron rose from the mist behind her, no longer gentle, but standing exactly the way 65 million years of instinct had built him to stand, as a guardian, fully prepared to become a weapon. The hunters had trained for large predators. They had never trained for something built by an era of Earth that no longer existed. Theron moved with a speed that shouldn't have belonged to something his size, using the valley's narrow rock corridors to his advantage, funneling the hunters into positions where their weapons became useless against his natural armor. He didn't kill a single one of them. Every strike was calculated, defensive, designed to disarm rather than destroy, knocking weapons from hands, overturning vehicles, cutting off escape routes just enough to make continuing the hunt impossible without ever crossing into needless violence. Mira watched, terrified and in awe at once, understanding for the first time the full weight of what he truly was, not a monster from a forgotten age, but something closer to a living, breathing promise. The hunter's leader, refusing to leave empty-handed, made one last desperate attempt, aiming a tranquilizer dart directly at Mira herself, hoping to use her as leverage against the creature clearly protecting her. Theron moved faster than anyone could react, placing his own massive body directly between Mira and the dart, taking the hit meant for her without a single moment of hesitation. The tranquilizer, built for his size, barely slowed him, but the message was unmistakable. He had made his choice long before that day, and nothing, not weapons, not greed, not 65 million years of supposed extinction, was going to change it. Faced with a creature that refused to fall, and having lost every tactical advantage they'd planned around, the hunters finally retreated, abandoning their equipment in their haste to leave the valley behind entirely. In the days that followed, Mira made a choice of her own. She sealed the valley's location permanently, destroying her grandfather's remaining notes, protecting Theron the same unwavering way he had protected her. She visited often but told no one else the way inside, understanding now exactly why her grandfather had guarded the secret his entire life. People think love only exists between two people who speak the same language, she said once, sitting quietly beside Theron as the sun set over the valley. But I think it's simpler than that. Love is just choosing to protect something, completely, without needing a reason why. Theron never spoke a single word in any language Mira understood. He never needed to. Every day he chose to stay by her side, every time he stood between her and danger without hesitation, was its own kind of language, one older and steadier than words could ever be. Maybe that's the real lesson hidden inside a story like this one. The deepest bonds were never really about how alike two beings are. They're about the choice to protect each other, again and again, long after anyone else would have stopped trying.